Welcome to the Truth Over Facts podcast. I'm your host, Dylan, and my co host, Ronnie.
What's up, Dylan?
What's up, bud?
Nothing much. As you can see, I got a big plume of smoke right behind me because Ohio's burning to shit.
Yeah, I got the culprit to my right and to my left.
Yeah. Yeah, last time we were on was last Tuesday, right?
Yeah, I think it
So
was
there's been
last
a
week.
lot of things that have happened since then. We had a unidentified aircraft that turned out to be a balloon that ended up getting shot down.
I think they call it a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon,
Oh,
like with
yeah,
John Travolta. I think John Travolta's just a fucking alien too, but
and then we moved into the weekend where we had more UAPs,
yeah,
and then we had the Super Bowl
yeah.
on Sunday. We had Rihanna's halftime show. Did you take anything out of that, or?
I could give two shits about the Super Bowl, but when they announced Rihanna, I went to a Super Bowl party and shit. I was like, watch, Eminem's gonna come out. And I was like waiting on we had a pool going to see what was the number one song that she would open with and shit. I went with work, 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 work.
It was in there though, but it wasn't the
Yeah,
first
it
one.
was like the third song or fourth song.
Yeah,
I lost that pool and shit.
I like that song,
Call me
dog.
rude boy, boy. You can turn it up.
Yeah, she had all her hits. She played all her hits. I
Yeah, I
don't
like it.
understand.
I don't
I
know
don't
why the fuck
understand why
everybody's
all the
hating on her. Like,
dancers.
oh, I think Rihanna's pregnant. Of course she's fucking pregnant. Like, why do you think she's taking the money? Think
I
she
just
can pull that
I don't
baby out by
understand why all the
herself?
dancers they came out like in hazmat suits. What was up with that, dog?
I don't think about that in the hazmat suit. What is this deal with like red? What is the symbol with the red lately where it's just like all red and white and red and black and shit? Like
I think red, and I think spike protein.
devil.
I
Yeah,
don't think
devil.
devil. I think spike protein because that's what all these news networks were showing whenever they were talking about or discussing COVID-19 or
Right.
when it was first brought onto the main stage, when it was being introduced to everybody. It was
Right.
just like this red blob with spikes on it.
If the Grammys were sponsored by Pfizer and they had Adam Smith Devil and these what was the Super Bowl sponsored by?
Apple Music.
Okay, Devil. I thought it was Dunkin' Donuts, but my bad.
Yeah.
But no, like I don't it's all subliminal messages and shit like that. And it's just kind of like what do you like every other
There,
color in the goddamn primary color book
there
you could
were
have picked and you pick red.
there were there were people on Twitter that were looking to find something wrong with the halftime show.
And they could because they all like her music. That was the
No,
thing with
no,
me.
no,
I'm
no,
like,
no, no. They did. They did. They're like, oh gosh, the kids should be watching this halftime show. And
yeah,
they're
come
trying
here.
to find something symbolic, and like the only thing that they could find was like this little black pendant that she wore like on her belt buckle or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's a Nazi symbol. No, I'm pretty sure it's Gucci symbol. But that's what I mean. Like we're in this mass psychosis where this is what I love about America. Even when everything is perfect, they still fucking hate it. Like,
Hmm.
I was waiting on when everybody was like, "Oh, Rihanna's there and shit." I'm like, "Well, didn't she just like get cheated on with ASAP Rocky and shit?" Sure as shit. There's ASAP Rocky cheering her on and shit. I'm like, "Well, yeah, that's her fucking fault." Then I'm like, she just had a kid with him, got cheated on or what have you, supposedly, and now she got pregnant with him. Like, I don't know how that fucking works, but all right,
Well, that's the same shit that happened with Cardi B.
yeah,
With
exactly.
who was that? Migos? Is that
Yeah.
Migos? Or is that
You don't
Quavo?
understand.
Yeah.
He's he's got a 5-year plan. Yeah, what is it? Don't die.
All these guy
I'm
rappers
on
should be
that
like
plan.
all these guy rappers should be like Rick Ross and
Hmm.
never collaborate with a female rapper because he's afraid he's gonna screw him.
Yeah, smart
He
man.
cares more about the relationship than he does putting his pingy
Cares
dingy
more
and
about
stuff.
the art than the artist.
Yes.
But yeah, I didn't mind the halftime show and shit like that. But at the same time, I wanted Philly to win and shit. But like when I saw that Philly fans were tipping over cars and shit even before the game, I was
Yeah.
like, dude, Philly's gonna fucking burn. Oh wait, it already is burning with the fucking Ohio train derailment and shit. But you know what? That's karma and shit, right?
Yeah.
What what happened first? I can't remember. Did the train derail before the Super Bowl, or did the Super Bowl happen then it derailed?
It derailed 10 days ago.
Oh, okay. So it
But
was Mothman
yeah,
prophecy then, right?
did you see what they did in Philadelphia, the light poles? They greased them so nobody can climb them.
Would they grease him with logic? That's funny. I didn't know that they were greasing the poles and shit. But like Philly
Yeah,
fans are the fucking worst. Like Philly fans are dog shit. Like,
they're ruthless, dude.
yeah, dude. Like I mean, I love history and shit. And even when I look back and they're like, oh yeah, they're chucking batteries at Santa and shit. I'm like, that's like some Nazi shit. Like that's like some 1930s kind of stuff where they're like, oh, it's Santa. Santa's a communist. Throw batteries at him. Yeah, get the fucking double A's. They
Did you
go
ever get to go
farther.
to a Bears game with Chris?
No,
Oh, well,
no, you don't know another guy's son.
his dad is
He's a
he's his dad's a Bears season ticket holder. I don't know if he
yeah,
still is, but he'd
waste of
always
goddamn.
yeah, he'd always let us get two tickets to the Packers and Bears down in Soldier Field.
Mm.
But I don't think the people in Chicago are as ruthless as the people in Philadelphia.
Oh fuck no. Every single time I think of like Bears, Tugga, you know what I feel like doing? Fighting. I feel like that's all it is. It's just a big giant fucking brawl in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Where it's just like Philly fans don't give a shit. They're all drunk. They're all fucking. I mean, they got a Super Bowl at Nick Folk and shit like that. But at the same time, it's just kind of like half the world's going to shit. We got UFOs and shit. And at the same time, they're all pissed off, flipping cars. Like, we didn't
Philadelphia,
win.
the Eagles
World War
remind
Three's
me
about
of that
to break
movie
out.
with Elijah Wood and Charlie Hunnam, where it's like Elijah Wood goes to England
Hmm.
and he becomes like this. I don't know. He's like like gets in with like this soccer gang or whatever. And
Oh yeah,
what is
yeah,
that?
yeah.
Hooligans or something? Is that called Hooligans?
No, it's not Green Street
Yeah,
Hooligans,
it's
is
Green
it?
Street Hooligans. Yeah, Green Street
Yeah,
Hooligans. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what Philly reminds me of.
I just feel like every time I think of Philly and shit, I just feel like it's like Boston is already Boston, but it's just kind of like you want to degrade yourself, you go to fucking Philly or Baltimore.
Yeah.
Like Baltimore, I just read an article where it's like uh everybody in math failed, like all the kids in math failed across the
Hmm.
boards. And then Illinois, it was something like 53% of the Illinois kids couldn't do simple math and they all failed. It's like, yeah, we've come to complete retard at this fucking point. There ain't no saving America at this point.
I can't even laugh at that, dude, because I don't even think I can do simple math.
Hell no, I hate fractions. Who the fuck likes fractions and shit? Hey, fraction Dylan, you like fractions? I believe you get your ass kicked for saying something like that. That's how I am. Fuck math. That's what you got an iPhone for. But yeah, like the Super Bowl was all right, but like I think like it's funny to me watching everybody just hate on and nitpicking every fucking thing. There are people there that are like Jacksonville Jaguar fans, and they're like, I didn't like the fucking halftime show. You didn't even make the fucking playoffs, what have you, or whatnot. Like your team is shit the whole
Hmm.
entire fucking year. I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, and even I can fucking admit, like, yeah, I like Rihanna and shit like that. It's been a while. She a little rusty, she a little thick with two C's, but at the same time, like, I give her mad props for going on there. I hate heights. She got more fucking balls than me going up on that big ass
Yeah,
platform.
dude,
You
that
know
looks
what I mean?
scary, man. There's no way I'm
Yeah,
doing that.
I was shit my
No
pants. I was
way.
like, yeah, I give her mad props on
I
that.
started
How much
getting
is a beer up there?
I started getting flashbacks of Owen Hart at the pay-per-view. Like,
Mm,
no way.
mm-mm. Right. Or like Sting comes from the rafters and just like fucking cracks her with a baseball bat. But no, like everybody's hating on the Super Bowl and shit like that. I'm glad to see Andy Reid won another one, okay? I like Andy Reid a lot. That dude went through some bullshit in his life. I
Mm-hmm.
think his kid committed suicide or some shit like that. Dude went through some bullshit, but I would have liked to seen what's the quarterback's name for Philly? Hurts?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I would have liked to seen Philly win a fucking Super Bowl because
He'll get back there, dude.
yeah.
He's good. That team is really good.
I always, dude, Travis Kelce was killing it the whole fucking game. They had no
Yeah.
answer for him or anything like that. He was just carving them up.
Yeah.
But other than the fucking Super Bowl, it's just kind of one of those things with me where it's just kind of like, okay, like all the polar bears are dying and shit, and we're all worried about a goddamn pigskin right now. You know, everybody's got to make their bets and stuff like that.
It's more
But
like
what I'm
whales
saying
being
is like,
washed up in New Jersey.
huh?
It's more like whales being washed up in New Jersey.
Yeah, those are usually always happen. Do you ever notice that um one of the most prized possessions in all of American history or ancient history is whale vomit. Whale vomit is one of the biggest contributors to perfume around the world.
No, I didn't know that. That's a fun
Oh, you
fact
know?
to know, though.
Yeah, like if you ever come across go on the beach walking wherever and you see like a big giant ball of like yellow shit, that's
Yeah.
probably whale vomit. It's highly valuable.
So you're telling me all the Adidas that I used to slap on my neck was whale vomit?
I thought you were an Axe guy or Under Armour kind of guy.
Well, this is like back in like my high school days, dog.
Right,
So we're
so it was
thinking like,
Axe. We were all Axe or Old
how many
Spice.
years ago was that? Like 17 years ago?
Yeah,
Yeah.
17. That was like Old Spice and Axe. Yeah, like every single uh perfume, not every perfume, but like the main ingredient of perfume is whale vomit.
Mm.
Highly valuable. You ever come across a beach and you see something you can't explain? Pick that motherfucker up, even if it does kill you.
Just take it with you.
Yeah, just take it with you. Put it in a radio flyer wagon and shit. But no, the Super Bowl was all right and stuff like that. I had a good time. Met up with a couple of friends and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's just kind of like I think as a society, we're just ripping ourselves apart because like so many people are criticizing the halftime show. And through my observation, it's people that can't even fucking spell halftime. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
it's one of those things like, oh, I didn't like the halftime show. What was the guy who did the Star Spangled Banner?
Oh, the Chris Stapleton?
Yeah, Chris Stapleton did an amazing job.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not biased whatsoever. Did an amazing job on that.
Hmm.
Rihanna did a great job after 7 years off. I mean, imagine being retired for 7 years and coming back. Are you going to be better better than you were before? Fuck no, you're not. You're not going to be better than you were if you took 7 years off. So just admit, like, hey, they went out there and they tried and shit like that. And what was it even before the Chris Stapleton thing? Didn't they do like a black Star Spangled Banner or something like that?
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was one. Now I know.
Yeah, and it showed
Now when
Carrie
the next
Lake just
person does
sitting
it, now I'll
down.
be like, damn, they did a
Carrie
really
Lake
good
didn't
job.
even acknowledge it. She was there.
Yeah, Carrie Lake and stuff like that. I heard about that. But my point being is like I didn't even know there was one. You know what I mean?
Here's my
I
point
think
being is all these people that go out and show support for these people that want to be in these, government elected positions are showing up to like these Super Bowls and stuff on behest with their money,
yeah,
you
and
know?
it's just it's all politicized to a point where they're trying to make a statement. It doesn't even matter what the statement is about,
Mm-hmm.
right? this is all deteriorating shit where it's nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. Carrie Lake, it's in Arizona. Okay, I get it. But like, you just want to be there to say that the whole entire vote thing was rigged, not
Yeah.
prove anything that it was rigged. You just want to be there to create yourself as a symbolic push towards that ideology kind of shit where it doesn't even make sense. Like, what? Oh, and the problem is that you have also people that did support Carrie Lake where they're like, yeah, fuck that. Like Blake Shelton, or what was his name? Who did the Star Spangled Banner?
Oh, Chris Stapleton.
Yeah, Chris Stapleton and shit like that. I mean, if you're a true American, you appreciate just trying. You don't, it doesn't matter if you suck or if you're bad at it. Americans just care that you try, right?
Mm-hmm.
It just matters if you're, it's not, it doesn't matter if you're right or you're wrong. It just matters that you try. And that's real America. Because real America, you don't have to be smart. You don't have to be stupid as long as you try, right? And that's what
It's
Americans will always appreciate is trying something. Even if you're not good at it, you still tried, you failed. Guess what? Now you're an entrepreneur, right?
all these big events have just been pretty much big get-togethers of, you know,
Cronies.
let's all get together to be distracted from
Right.
the
I
real
know it's always going
problems.
to end up bad when Elon Musk shows up and shit. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Here goes Twitter and shit like that. Like,
Let's
not to
keep
keep on
coming
the.
up with ways to divert critical thinking.
Yeah, exactly right. It's called a hive mind, where essentially you get a central focus on one thing, and the whole entire beehive has to uh, gravitate towards it. That way, it can sustain itself, right?
Yeah.
Like, the queen has to keep producing, and the warrior bees just keep having to protect. Everybody knows their role in order to make it survive, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, I could give two shits.
Well, yeah, you think about like all those people in there like that just dedicate their lives to watching sports. I mean, that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for a long time. I just endlessly watched sports, but then, I as the more I started listening on the radio and then I started watching, the more I just became involved in what's going on around me and in my life, what's really changing, what they don't want, what what they don't want you to see.
Right. Well,
And it
Ronnie, your
it
history is you're a Marine, but first and foremost, you're a father. And like any father or mother, you have an ability to scatter away the extra chatter, right, in the surrounding background. You have to focus on your family. You have to focus on what is best for your family. Fuck all the bullshit besides all of that. You have to worry about your family. And, you also have military background, which in certain situations, if you gravitate towards one thing, it could get you killed. You have to think outside the box. You have to have critical thinking to a point where if you're not critically thinking, you could almost die.
yeah.
So it's kind of like a double entendre. Is that what they call it?
I don't know, but it's like, growing up like with my dad, we were, involved in going to like a lot of, Brewer games and Bucks
Hmm.
games,
Yeah.
and we'd be locked in on sports, but like now it's just
Politicized, right.
it's just so hard now to stay locked into something entertaining like that when there's so much crap going on, and then the people that you do want to root for think that you're evil,
Right.
and now that people, the ones that you did look up to are able to express their opinions through all the social media and stuff, and then you see their true feelings and what they really stand for and how
Yeah.
ugly it really is.
Yep.
It's like I can't it's like it's harder for me to give that relationship to my kids than
The human
what my dad
populace,
gave to me.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I was the same way, raised the same way, and stuff like that. But I think the human populace is just starting to realize the con job behind every single popular person at one of these um, sports events where it's just turned into a political ad and shit like that. To the point where, like, you ever seen the movie Mystery Men with Ben Stiller?
Oh yeah, and Pee Wee
Yeah,
Herman.
where yeah, what was he called? There was a shoveler and
He's the
shit like that.
spleen, dog.
No, Spleen was Pee Wee Herman. I think he
Yeah,
was the rage guy or whatever,
yeah.
where he just takes
That
that
was
little
Ben
squeezy
Stiller.
and
Ben
shit. You
Stiller
just
was the
squeeze it.
rage guy.
Yeah.
What was the bad guy's name, dude?
Casanova Frankenstein,
Yeah, with the long overgrown
nails and
pinky
stuff like that.
nail.
Right. Well, it's kind of like that where like the main superhero who was what Greg Kinnear, I think his name is.
Yeah, he had all the sponsors on his suit and
Yeah,
stuff. Hmm.
Captain I forget his name. Yeah, exactly it. Like where essentially he takes out all the bad guys to a point where like he has to release bad guys because he doesn't have a job no more,
Yeah.
right? And he's sponsored by so many people. Like at the beginning of that movie, they're kind of like, hey, like, you just took out like guys who are robbing old people's homes. Like we're running out of sponsors. They just pulled their sponsorship.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where you have these people nowadays, and the same shit happened in ancient Rome and stuff like that, where like people will always idolize the most simplistic people, and the most simplistic people are the people who are directly in front of them, right?
Hmm.
They're in the cameras and stuff like that. But that's what it reminds me of is like all our sponsors are pulling out and shit. We got to create another catastrophe so you can go and save them and stuff like that. But overall, the Super Bowl and stuff like that, I didn't mind it. I just had a couple beers and got drunk off of some, good beer, and then ate a bunch of taco dip and shit.
Yeah. I just wish that last call didn't go the way that it did.
Yeah, well, at least he admitted to it. Otherwise, they put a gun to his head. The Illuminati put a gun to his head and said, "You better admit to it." But no, other than that, I mean, we can talk about this guy or we can talk about this guy. I think they're the same guy.
Well,
Or Ohio.
the well, Joe Biden. There's not really much to say about him. He didn't really say much about anything that happened.
Well, he can't. That's the thing. But here's the thing. All throughout history, aliens have been among us. Okay. They've been in the Bible, they've been in ancient artifacts and stuff like that. But the people in
Alien
control,
behind you, dude.
right? It looks literally just like him. But all throughout history, the as I said in the previous kind of like episodes and stuff like that, the way that the system protects itself is it kind of cocoons itself, right?
Hmm.
With misinformation and controlling the information that it does have. So, kind of like all throughout history, the reason why the government is so afraid of allowing the American people with this whole entire UFO shit is because UFOs and aliens directly contradict God, right?
Hmm.
Because if man can misinterpret manatees, a mammal, right? Fat
Hmm.
ass fucking mammal. People used to misinterpret manatees as mermaids. So if man can misinterpret manatees as a mermaid, they'll also misinterpret a god as a human being, right? Because they're a bringer of life or a bringer of technology and stuff like that. That's why I think the government is going so out of its way to create catastrophes right now to a point where they're trying the whole symbolism of human civilization is built upon the foundation of God, right?
Hmm.
I mean, think of America. What's on the dollar bill? In God we trust and stuff like that. But if aliens directly contradict that, it all gets washed away. And the way that the system survives is it will survive by any means necessary, like a virus, right? It has to survive in order to, if we could eradicate viruses, we would, but like the military has viruses for biomedical weapons that it can eventually release out into the open later on, which it has a cure for, right? It's the same kind of principle where like they knew this was all going on, all these UFOs and shit like that were evading airspace and stuff like that. But as long as they helped the technology to solve it, they had no problem with it. But like eventually, like all viruses or anything like that, it mutates, it adapts. So you've had 4 UAPs or UFOs or spy balloons is what you want to call it within like 8 days. Okay, so let's take that in consideration. In 8 days, you've had 4 events. Out of 4 events, even if one was correct to be a UFO, you're still shooting at 25%.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a big percentage.
Yeah.
And that's scary as shit. So this is why, as I said before, the previous podcasts and stuff like that, like they're trying to create a bigger crisis after crisis in order to control the crisis, which is why you have Ohio. Okay, like not a lot of people understand this, but like Ohio is a centrifugal like center point for a lot of waterways. Okay, like
yeah.
I think the only other positional point in the United States to attack in order to attack its fresh water sources would be Michigan, right? But
Yeah.
like Ohio is also southern, so it can also seep into the southern states. Does that make sense? So it would, strategic wise, it would be a great, this is just me being a cynic, but if I wanted to attack America, I would attack it in 3 different points. I would attack its food supply, I would attack its water, and the next thing I would attack is its utilities.
Did you watch
Or
Tucker Carlson last night, dog?
no, I didn't. But this is it's something called a fire sale.
Yeah.
A fire sale is where essentially hackers or world governments, because the way that the governments work is they're always constantly fighting hackers. So what better way to beat them than to employ them? You ever seen Catch Me If You Can?
Yeah.
With Leonardo? Right. He was one of the best Czech.
Pedophile. Sorry.
Right. No, more like hero. Some people see him as being a bad person. Other people see him, Leo, this one's you. You're a hero in my book. Keep it going, dog. But what I'm saying is that essentially, if you can't beat them, you join them, right? And that's just it. The best hackers in the world work for the governments. The governments spend more time trying to find the best hackers in the world so they can just recruit them than trying to beat them.
And
Does that make
another
sense?
reference would be World War II.
Yeah. The Enigma code, I think it was
The
called.
father of thrust.
Yeah. I think it was called the Enigma code or U571. Remember that movie?
Operation
With,
Paperclip.
yeah. All that stuff. Recruiting all the Nazis and stuff like that. If you can't beat them, join them. That's always been the premise of America. That's how we've always survived technology-wise. It's no different nowadays.
Yeah.
So all of these UFOs, supposedly, are nothing more than 2 situations. Either these UFOs are extraterrestrial or they're not. If they're extraterrestrial and they're unmanned and they're becoming more frequent wise, and I've seen that map like a lot of people have over the year or weeks, they're heading south. right? Started in Alaska, then it went to Canada, then it went to the Great Lakes. Okay, so me being the type of conspiracy theorist that I am.
Oh, they're going for the red states.
No, they're not. No, not that. If anything, they're not even, and this is the main kind of takeaway, is that they're unmanned. I think they said, this is from my perspective of it and my opinion of it. They said that one of the objects, all of them have been unmanned,
Hmm.
okay? But one of them said that it had like tethers on it, so it could carry a payload.
Oh, are you talking? They're gonna take out the grid at Texas's electrical grid.
Well, that's already been happened because there was
Yeah,
a
they just
train
had.
derailment in Texas. There was a train derailment.
Well, and then before that, with the cold weather, they lost power. Um,
Okay, well, back to my one thing is that either they're extraterrestrial or they're not. So let's go on both of those. If it's extraterrestrial, do you really think that the government would be shooting fucking missiles at this shit and then trying to recover it?
no, they're getting ready for an EMP attack.
Right, exactly right. That's what I think. I think the system is failing, and I think the government is trying to create an even bigger crisis.
Damn it, dude, we're gonna get canceled off this episode. Damn it, we're
Yeah,
jumping to conclusions, dude.
than COVID. Now,
Damn it.
if
Damn it,
it's
dude.
yeah, if it's human based,
Should
okay.
we keep going down this rabbit hole?
Well, yeah, we could, but like you're ex-military, okay? So any person who's ever been in the military, I'm not military, but I'm smart enough to know how to do some certain things. You never send live people to scout a place you've never been to if you only have the technology that can supplement that, right? It's kind of like how we study volcanoes. If we study volcanoes and we send humans into a goddamn volcano, we're going to burn up. So we send machines to take samples of it, right?
Well, that we have satellites that do reconnaissance around the world every
Right,
day,
but
like of
before
multiple
satellites,
countries
we
that
used to
have
send
that.
like little robots and shit like that in there and taking samples. So either these are man-made or they're probes. I think they're probes. And the reason that they're probes and they're coming in different shapes is you have different probes for different atmospheres, different environments, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to send the same probe as you would in a cold state or a cold atmosphere than you would in a warm atmosphere. You need different probes to assess the actual environment in which you're trying to attack, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you can get away with it, if you're a human and you send these balloons out, you're not going to use a missile to fucking shoot them down. You could just capture them, right? You could send a helicopter up and
Mm-hmm.
capture them, extract the data out of it. So why are you blowing them out of the fucking sky?
Well, actually, I don't know. I don't think helicopters can climb that high.
Right, but a couple of them were at like 20,000. The point I'm trying to make is that they're different. One of them was a hexagon or an octagon. A couple of them were capsule, like a tic tac or whatever before. They're different. Well, if you're in different wars, you use different tools. So that would mean that you have different species of aliens probing different atmosphere, the same atmosphere, right? So
Yeah.
that's my conspiracy theory is that you have multiple aliens trying to attack at the same time.
Okay.
But if it's human based, you ever heard of Paul Krugman?
No.
Okay, here we go in this rabbit hole.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Paul Krugman is an economist.
Oh.
I think he writes for the New York Times. Paul Krugman won the Nobel Peace Prize, I think, once or twice. Okay. He's one of those guys, I say, for the financial crisis and stuff like that, because that's kind of like the first domino.
What would you
Not
think
the
of
first
Janet
domino.
Yellen?
What, Janet Yellen?
What would Paul Krugman think of Janet Yellen?
She's a great person. She knows what she's doing. She has a history to back it up, but they're all incompetent, right? Because they're all in the same.
Okay, so we're talking about an incompetent economist.
Mm-hmm. You're right, correct.
Okay.
But so incompetent that he won the Nobel.
Well, I don't think that's going to get us canceled. Then keep going.
No, Paul Krugman. To get out of the 2008 financial crisis, he came up with two ideas. One of those ideas have already come to fruition. Okay. He said that the economy is so in debt and it's so collapsed from all of the debt, all of the fraud and stuff like that. America could do two things. It could create a $1 trillion coin to pay off its debt out of thin air, right? To wipe out all of this debt. Or what it could do, second option, it could fake an alien invasion because humans would gather around to create technology to raise the GDP to get us out of this hole, right?
So I know what you're saying. Sam Bankman-Fried was their first option, and he got caught.
He was the financier of it.
So now it's up to the alien invasion to come through.
There's always a fall guy. Through every single con, there's always a fall guy.
Dude, we sound so stupid.
I know we do, but we're probably right.
Oh, yeah.
Every single con throughout history, right? Whether it's timeshares, Ponzi schemes, everybody needs a fall guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only reason they arrested Bernie Madoff was because he was ripping off rich people. Right?
Well, eventually he was going to fall because
he was.
Yeah.
But it wasn't
there
until
was no
rich
running
people
away
started
from
getting ripped off.
There was no running away from the trouble that he got himself into.
No, he dug his own grave.
Yeah,
the
there was no way he was going to pay back all that money he took.
Right. The way that the system works, it has to survive by any means necessary. It will kill or throw whoever it has to under the bus in order to survive. And it's just one of those things where it's kind of like there always needs to be a fall guy. Financing to create all of this shit, then all of a sudden all of it disappears. There's a fall guy. The media focuses on the fall guy while all this money that was laundered goes into different things, right? Everybody takes their cut and they say, hey, we'll give you a little piece of the pie. We'll give you a slap on the wrist for taking the fall. Athletes do this shit all the time. That's why they have entourages, right?
Yep.
Ray Lewis killed a motherfucker in a nightclub. Don't nobody know what happened, but yeah, there's entourages, right? There's always a fall guy. You take the fall and I'll take care of you. But at the same time, you're going to have to go through a little bit of bullshit. There's going to be a little sting, right? Well, the same thing goes with this. It's the same con job over and over again. You know, in Ohio and stuff like that. You have animals dying and shit like that. You ever seen the movie Aaron Brockovich?
No.
Perfect example.
Oh, yeah. No, I have. Yes, that's with the lady. Yeah, Julia Roberts.
Yeah, they were poisoning the shit. Aaron Brockovich pulled the lawsuit. Everybody was so poor that they didn't want to cause a ruckus because they started paying out the townspeople and shit like that.
Yeah, and that's what they're doing to us right now.
Exactly
what they're doing to us right now. They say that, the economy is okay.
Right.
People are starting to make more money, and it's completely false.
Right.
You got tech companies that are laying off workers by the thousands, but they're still bringing in billions of dollars, dude.
Right. And it doesn't make sense because math-wise, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we're doing perfectly fine. We just added 10 billion, but we just lost 10 billion. No. You don't understand. That's 10 billion we could have wasted. Right? Okay, so it's just there's a great movie. I fucking love John Travolta, dude. Great actor. There was a movie in the 1990s that John Travolta did called, I think it's called
Look
The
who's
Civil.
talking.
No, not Phenomenon either.
Oh,
It's called The Civil Action, I think. A Civil Action. And A Civil Action, the movie with John Travolta, was him playing a lawyer. It's got James Gandolfini in it. You might want to look this up. Great movie.
okay.
Very similar to what is going on in Ohio. John Travolta plays a lawyer. James Gandolfini plays a worker who works at I think it's a taxidermy or a hide place for skins, right?
Okay.
Leather.
Yeah. Like
Well,
that's
when
like
they,
taxidermy. Yeah.
yep, exactly. So when they clean the leather, they have to use a chemical. Well, they do it all outside, and
Yeah.
they do it close to a creek.
Oh.
So James Gandolfini is kind of like this insider guy who works at this taxidermy place. Like it's like the number one hide place or leather place in America.
Mm-hmm. Best Google reviews in town.
Yeah, Google's all
Mm-hmm.
the way. Google says it's okay, so you're fine. 5-star Google review.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, in this movie, uh James Gandolfini works at this like taxidermy place or cow or leather place, and they use this chemical. This chemical ends up running off into a stream to a point where everybody starts getting sick and shit, and
Mm-hmm.
it destroys this whole town. And John Travolta is kind of like doing pro bono. He's kind of like this disgrace. If I remember right, he's kind of like a disgraced lawyer, and
Yeah.
he needs to come up on his name again and shit like that. So he does this kind of like pro bono job for this little town, and he starts to realize all the corruption to a point where like everybody in the town works for this leather place, so nobody wants to speak about it because they don't want to lose their jobs,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's a scene in the movie where James Gandolfini is sitting at the dinner table with his whole entire family, and they're all eating and having a great time and shit like that. And instead of having milk for dinner, they all have water in a
Oh
pitcher or
no.
something like that. Right. So like James Gandolfini is watching all of his kids drink this water,
And they
and
get
he gets
cryptosporidium.
some shit like that, right? Or like
Remember when
cancer
Milwaukee
cause.
had that back in the day?
Oh
Like the
yeah,
early
crypto.
90s? Yeah, cryptosporidium.
Yeah, that was crypto before it was cool.
I got yeah, I had that shit when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, you should check the movie out, and a lot of our listeners should check that movie out. And just it's a great movie that shows how the system works, right? The companies, the governors, they all collude to try to not tarnish their name because all for profits, right? But James Gandolfini always put his family first in this movie kind of shit where he's sitting at the dinner table, all of his kids are drinking all this contaminated water and shit, and he's just kind of like goes up to John Travolta and be like, yeah, I'll testify against it. But there's a scene in there where there's a bunch of little like teenage kids and they're playing around this creek, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
seeing all these videos on TikTok of this creek is all contaminated, all the fish are dying and shit like that. There's a scene in the movie where these teenage kids are throwing beer bottles at each other. I think they're actually throwing fireworks at each other
Mm-hmm.
in the creek. And one of the owners for this leather company is telling these kids to get out of here and shit. And all of a sudden, one of these teenage kids takes one of these bottle rockets or M80s and throws it, and he misses the owner of this hide company. It falls into the creek, and the whole creek lights on fire,
Oh
right?
jeez.
And all the kids start scattering because they're kind of like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. I've been
And it
drinking
was,
that shit.
yeah, exactly right. And it's a big giant creek that runs through this little dinky town. Everybody's in on it. And John Travolta is this lawyer. I think it's called The Civil Action. It's a great movie. I love John Travolta. Great, great actor and shit like that. But everybody should check that movie out. If you want to know the bureaucracy of how the system works and what it will do by any means necessary to contain something that will destroy such a small town. And this is exactly why there's the rise of Trump and stuff like that. You know, the constant they don't call it capitalism, they call it what the fuck do they call it? They call it crony capitalism, where the fascist industrialists at the time rape and pillage and hollow out their companies for so much profit to a point where like now it's become completely illegal. You can't stop it, you can't control it because they own everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like Ohio. The railroad company was just had a dispute with the union to the point where the government had to step in and say, "Hey, no, we'll meet the demands of the union, but we'll only meet a little bit of the demands of the union. But we need you back at work because otherwise the whole system shuts down." Right? I think it's like 60% of the entire GDP is moved through railway. The other 40% is air and water, 20 and 20, but 60% of it is all railway, internal wise.
What about freeways? What about like semis?
Yeah, trucking and stuff like that. Okay, that's
Trucking.
5-10%. You know, but the majority
Props
of
to
it
the
is railway.
truckers that are listening right now.
Yeah, I don't mean to offend a lot of truckers or anything like that, but like railway is a lot cheaper than truckers because you have less gas and you can carry more load, right? But at the same time, it's all an interconnected highway system. But if one of it shuts down or it gets in a lawsuit, America shuts down. That's why Jimmy Hoffa was the most powerful person during the 1960s and 70s, even before that, right?
Kennedy hated his ass.
Right, because Jimmy Hoffa knew that Kennedy was his dad was a bootlegger. Joe Kennedy was a goddamn bootlegger. So he's kind of like, so wait, you made your money illegally. Now you're fucking blaming me for making my money the same way you made it. You're a hypocrite. That's why Hoffa hated Kennedy and shit. But no, I highly recommend that movie. It's a great movie. I've been watching a couple of late John Travolta movies. Mad City, you ever seen Mad City?
No.
It's got Dustin Hoffman in it with John
Dustin
Travolta.
Hoffman, yeah.
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman is kind of like this washed up reporter.
Dustin Hoffman.
Right. Dustin Hoffman is kind of this washed up reporter, and John Travolta is like a recently fired security guard at a museum or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So John Travolta takes a bunch of school kids hostage, and Dustin Hoffman kind of talks them out of it and stuff like that. I think it's called Mad City. Great movie. But as soon as I saw the whole entire thing with Ohio, it reminded me of that movie. I think it's called The Civil Action with John Travolta or Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah.
Where these companies are so integrated into the political system, and this is where you see the uproar, right? Where nothing works anymore. You blatantly are committing crimes, but because your political influence is so strong and so deep, nothing ever gets fucking done, right?
Yeah.
That's why they're trying to come up with all this other bullshit with all these UFO kind of crap. I mean, they're almost calling this the American Chernobyl right now.
2.0.
Right.
Is it Chernobyl 2.0?
Right. And there's no way you can ever tell me that the EPA told you to blow up all this fucking chemical and shit just so it can go into the atmosphere. I thought we were worried about that 13-year-old, what's her name, Greta?
Greta Thunberg?
Yeah. Where's Greta at?
How dare you?
Ohio.
Oh, how dare you?
Right. Where's Greta? Yeah. How dare you?
She actually just came out with a book. She just came out with a book.
Greta isn't in Ohio. That's for damn sure. Because
$30 a piece. She chopped down a bunch of trees to do it. All in the name of climate change.
Well, you have to remember, before climate change came, it was global warming. And then when they realized it's not actually global warming, it's actually global cooling. Oh shit, now it's climate change, right? They just keep changing the game. And that's how it is. And they use the media, they use political influences, they use corporate ties to just keep changing the game to keep the game going. But eventually, the mass populace don't no longer believe in it. It doesn't matter what you say, right? Like it's kind of like I'm trying to sell you a timeshare
Mm-hmm.
in fucking Egypt. Hey, I got this great
Ooh,
timeshare in Egypt. You ever been to Egypt?
is it
You
humid?
sh- there's camels. Yeah, it's humid, but there's camels. Your kids like camels?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Even better. I got plenty of camels. I got a
D
timeshare.
how hot does it get?
Not hot enough. Plenty hot. I got plenty. And that's how it is. That's how the system works. It just keeps entangling more and more people, like a Ponzi scheme. Just keeps taking in more stupid people,
Hmm.
more stupid people.
I'm one of
Don't
those
pay
stupid
attention here.
people. I get sucked in by stupid shit.
Don't pay attention here. Pay attention here. You know. Hey, you got it. You already maxed out one credit card. Max out another one.
Yes, you got
Don't
it.
worry. I'll
Thank
take
you.
care of you.
Thank you. May I have another? Thank you.
Yeah.
May I have another?
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but in the end state, there's a lot of people that are going to be experiencing a lot of trouble here. They're saying that we're the Ohio River, or it
Hold up
reaches
a sec. I
upwards
gotta
about.
pee. I'm gonna pause it.
All right.